Secrets of the White Cross. Templars. The True Chronicle. Mysterious knights in white cloaks with a scarlet cross, whose names are shrouded in legend and mystery. Templars, an order founded to protect the Holy Land, but became a symbol of power, authority, and mysticism. They were monks and warriors, keepers of ancient knowledge and creators of the first banking system. But what led to their downfall? What is the truth about the treasures of Solomon's temple and the curses that resounded over the flames of the pyre? Immerse yourself in a world of intrigue, battles, and mystery, where every word is a clue to unravel a great mystery. Imagine a time when Europe was gripped by religious fervor and the holy lands of Jerusalem beckoned thousands of believers from every corner of the continent. It was then, at the beginning of the 12th century, a group of brave knights decided to take on the mission of protecting those traveling to the birthplace of Christ. And so was born the Order of the Temple, later to become known as the Knights Templar. These people did not just protect the pilgrims, they became real heroes of their era. The snow-white robe with the bright red cross became a symbol of courage and dedication. Templars lived by strict rules, combining military discipline and monastic humility. Each day began with prayer, followed by training to be ready for any challenge. But of course, there have always been many mysterious stories surrounding the Templars. It is said that they possessed ancient knowledge from forgotten civilizations. Perhaps that's why they were so unbeatable in battle. But at the same time, this mystery made them the object of envy and suspicion. Who knows what secrets this order was hiding? So, despite all the achievements and glory, the Templars remained surrounded by a halo of mysticism and reticence. And to this day, many people wonder, what was really behind this legendary order? So, imagine the year 1119. 9 Frenchmen, battle-hardened and determined to serve God, arrive in Jerusalem. They are led by a man named Hugo de Payen. They are not just soldiers, they are true knights, ready to give their lives in defense of a holy cause. They have a daunting task, to secure the routes of pilgrims seeking to visit the places where Jesus Christ walked. King Baldwin II, then ruling Jerusalem, realizes the importance of this mission. Robbers and bandits are constantly ambushing the roads, robbing and killing unfortunate travelers. So, when Hugo and his companions offer their services, the king immediately agrees. He gives them a place to stay right next to the Temple Mount, where the great temple of King Solomon once stood. From there came the name of the order, Templars, which literally means people of the temple. At first, the squad was quite small, only 9 people. But gradually their number began to increase. Because the idea of defending holy places was close to many Christians. Support for the order supported the most influential persons of the time, including the Pope himself. In 1128, Pope Honorius II officially recognized the order, making it a legitimate religious organization. An important contribution to the development of the order was made by Saint Bernard of Clairvaux. He drew up a charter that became the basis of the monastic and knightly life of the Templars. The charter defined the rules of behavior, discipline, and the duties of every member of the order. The Templars were now expected to live modestly as monks, but to be ready at a moment's notice to take up arms like true warriors. Thus, a small group of knights turned into a powerful and respected order, whose fame rattled throughout Europe. The Templar order was indeed a unique phenomenon of its time. Imagine, people who simultaneously lived the life of a monk and a warrior. Yes, they took the same vows as ordinary monks: poverty, chastity, and obedience. But instead of prayerful solitude, they took swords and shields in their hands, preparing to defend the Holy Land and their Christian brothers. A special feature of the Templars was their famous white robe with a red cross. The white color symbolized purity of soul and intentions, and the red cross reminded everyone of the willingness to shed blood for the faith. These clothes became not just a uniform, but a real symbol of belonging to one of the most powerful and respected orders of the time. As for the structure of the order, it was built clearly and strictly. At the very top of the pyramid of power stood the Grand Master. It was a man with great power and responsibility. He was subordinate to the commanders of the various provinces and commodores, a kind of chiefs in the field. Commanders were responsible for the management of individual parts of the order, ensuring order and discipline among their subordinates. The main military force of the order was made up of knights. These were noble men who had undergone serious training and had high moral qualities. But in addition to them, in the order served and other categories of people. For example, sergeants, these were warriors of noble origin, but also very important members of the order. They performed various tasks, helping the knights in battle and providing security. Another important group were chaplains, priests who maintained the spiritual state of the warrior brothers. They conducted services, confessed and blessed the Templars before the battle. Well, and, of course, we cannot forget about the brothers' servants. These were people who dealt with economic issues, ensuring the functioning of the order's castles and fortresses. Thus, the Order of Templars was a complex and multi-level structure, where everyone knew his place and performed certain functions. Thanks to this organization, the Order was able to achieve significant success and gain respect throughout the Christian world. The Knights Templar were true masters of war. Their arms and armor represented the pinnacle of medieval military technology. At the heart of the Templar arsenal was the long spear, used to cut through enemy lines in a mounted attack. The sword, usually two-handed, was an indispensable tool for close combat, allowing them to deliver devastating blows. The shield served as protection from arrows and blows, and was especially important in a tight formation. Templar armor consisted of chain mail that covered the entire body, providing protection from most weapons. A helmet with a visor covered the face, leaving only a narrow slit for the eyes, providing additional protection for the head. The lats completed the set, covering vulnerable parts of the body, such as the shoulders and knees. The Templar horses were specially trained for battle. These mighty animals underwent extensive training to learn how to bear the weight of a fully equipped rider and remain calm in the chaos of battle. The horse could perform complex maneuvers such as a sharp turn or sudden stop, giving the knight an advantage in battle. Templar battle orders were based on strict discipline and coherence. They fought in tight ranks protected by shields, creating almost an impenetrable barrier. This tactic allowed them to effectively repel enemy infantry and cavalry attacks. Mounted attack was their specialty. The knights rushed forward like an avalanche, sweeping away everything in their path. One of the key principles of the Templars was the rule of never retreating without orders. Even if the situation seemed completely hopeless, the knight was obliged to hold on to the last, protecting his brothers and the honor of the order. This made them incredibly resilient and terrified their enemies, for the Templars never gave up easily. This combination of discipline, skill, and iron will made the Templars some of the most formidable fighters. Their reputation spread far beyond the Holy Land, and many enemies preferred to avoid direct confrontation with these staunch defenders of the faith. The Templars' main mission was to protect the Holy Land and ensure the safety of pilgrims who sought to visit the sacred sites. To accomplish this task, they actively participated in the Crusades, demonstrating incredible courage and skill in battle. The Crusades were large-scale campaigns organized by the Catholic states of Europe to liberate Jerusalem and other holy sites from Muslim control. The Templars played a key role in these events, including the Second and Third campaigns. The Second campaign began in 1147 and lasted until 1149. It was triggered by the fall of Edessa, one of the most important Christian cities in the Middle East. The Templars took an active part in the defense of the cities and fortifications, showing themselves to be skilled strategists and fearless warriors. Although the Second campaign did not bring significant victories to the Christians, the Templars were able to strengthen their position and earn even greater respect among their allies. The Third campaign, which began in 1189, was a real test of the Templars' mettle. After the fall of Jerusalem in 1187 under the attacks of Saladin, the Muslim leader, the Christian states decided to regain what they had lost. The Templars were instrumental in the siege of Acre, one of the region's key ports. The siege lasted nearly 2 years, and the Templars proved themselves to be indomitable fighters, withstanding numerous assaults and counterattacks. During these campaigns, the Templars proved themselves not only as skilled warriors, but also as excellent organizers. They skillfully coordinated their actions with other chivalric orders and the armies of European states, which allowed them to succeed even in the most difficult situations. Their courage and ability to fight caused admiration among their allies and fear among their enemies. Muslim troops knew that a clash with the Templars would be a difficult challenge, and tried to avoid open battles with them. Nevertheless, the Templars continued to fight for the liberation of the Holy Land, becoming a symbol of courage and fortitude in the eyes of the entire Christian world. In addition to being known for their exploits on the battlefield, the Templars proved to be very talented financiers. Imagine, at a time when money had to be transported halfway around the world, at the risk of losing it or being robbed, the Templars came up with a brilliant thing: the first international banking system. How did it work? Very simple. If, say, a pilgrim was going to go to the Holy Land, he had to take a lot of gold and silver with him to pay for the journey, and lodging, and all sorts of incidentals. But carrying so much money with him was dangerous and heavy, frankly. That's where the Templars came to the rescue. A pilgrim could leave his savings in one of the Templar temples in Europe, receive a check and set off on his journey without unnecessary worries. Upon arrival in the Holy Land, he would present the check at the local temple and the Templars would give him the equivalent of the amount in local currency. All clean, safe, and convenient. This system of transferring money between countries was so successful that soon the Templars began to provide loans and engage in other financial transactions. They became sort of the first bankers, offering loans to kings, nobles, and even common people. Money flowed by the river, and the order began to accumulate great wealth. Thanks to their financial success, the Templars became one of the richest and most influential organizations of their time. Their holdings stretched across Europe, and their treasures amounted to millions of gold coins. This, by the way, played a cruel trick on them, because such a rich organization always attracts the attention of the greedy. But while everything went smoothly, the Templars enjoyed their success and continued to develop their financial empire. Their methods of operation became a model for subsequent generations of bankers, and many of the principles they laid down are still in use today. Despite all its power and influence, the Templar order was powerless against the political intrigues and financial problems of the early 14th century. The main reason for the destruction of the order was the French King Philip IV the Beautiful, who was experiencing serious financial difficulties. To solve his problems, he decided to seize the vast wealth of the Templars. Philip IV accused the Templars of heresy, witchcraft, and sodomy. These accusations were completely false, but the king cared little. He needed an excuse to start the persecution. And so, in 1307, mass arrests of Templars throughout France began. You can imagine the shock this caused among the members of the order. People who had dedicated their lives to serving God and protecting the Holy Land suddenly found themselves in prison, accused of the worst sins. Many of the arrested Templars were brutally tortured. Under the pressure of torturers, they were forced to confess to fictitious crimes. Grand Master Jacques de Molay and other leaders of the order were among those who were accused of the most serious sins. This event was the final point in the history of the order. Pope Clement V, under pressure from the French king, dissolved the Templar order. All their property, including their lands, castles, and treasures, were transferred to other organizations, mainly the Hospitallers. Thus, the order, which had been a symbol of courage and faith, ceased to exist. Jacques de Molay, the last Grand Master of the Templar order, was a man whose name will forever be associated with tragedy and martyrdom. His fate ended at the stake, but before the end he managed to utter words that have gone down in history as one of the most famous curses of the Middle Ages. On March 18, 1314, on the Isle of Sight in Paris, Jacques de Molay and his closest associate, the Prior of Normandy, Geoffrey de Charnay, were led to the scaffold. Both knights awaited their fate with calm and dignity. When they were tied to the posts, the fire was already burning and smoke was rising to the sky. Before the flames engulfed their bodies, however, Jacques de Molay addressed the crowd gathered to watch the execution. His voice was firm and resolute, in spite of the pain and in fear that must have tormented his soul. He raised his eyes to heaven and began to speak, "O Lord, I call you to witness my innocence and the injustice of my judgment. I forgive my persecutors, but may God reward them according to their deeds." Then he turned to King Philip IV the Beautiful, who was not at the place of execution, but whose presence was felt by all present. Clenching his teeth in pain, Jacques de Molay continued, "Philip, unjust king, you who have deceived me and my order, you who have severed our fraternal ties and appropriated our wealth, may God punish you and your descendants. You will leave this world within a year, and your race will disappear from the face of the earth." He then appealed to Pope Clement V, who, influenced by Philip, authorized the destruction of the order. "Clement, infidel shepherd, you who betrayed us and allowed our enemies to triumph. May your soul burn in hell, and may your successors be damned forever." Finally, he looked at Guillaume de Nogaire, the king's chief advisor, who had played a key role in the persecution of the Templars. "Nogaire, evil counselor, you who set a trap for us and made us suffer. May your bones decay, and may no one remember your name." When Jacques de Molay finished his curse, the fire was already encompassing his feet. He closed his eyes and prepared himself for the inevitable end. In a few minutes the two knights disappeared in the flames, but their last words were remembered and passed down through generations. Jacques de Molay's curse proved prophetic. A month after his execution, on April 20th, 1314, Pope Clement V died suddenly. In November of the same year, King Philip IV followed almost a year later by Nogaire. As for the Capeting dynasty, to which Philip belonged, it did indeed fade away after a few decades, leaving France in a state of anarchy and civil war. The curse of the Grand Master of the Templar Order became part of popular mythology and is still of interest today. It reminds us that even in the darkest moments of human history, there are still people who can stand up to injustice and defend their beliefs to the end. It is amazing how the political lust for power and money can lead to such tragic consequences. The Templars, who did so much to defend Christianity, fell victim to self-interest and intrigue. Their story remains an example of how even the strongest and most respected organizations can fall victim to human weakness. The history of the Templars is surrounded by many legends that add to its mystery and romance. One of the most famous legends is that of the treasure of the Temple of Solomon. According to this legend, the Templars, during their excavations on the Temple Mount, discovered ancient artifacts such as the Ark of the Covenant and the Holy Grail. It was as if these finds granted them immense power and wealth. Imagine this: knights who sought not only physical protection for the Holy Land, but also spiritual treasures that could change the course of history. Legend has it that by finding these relics, the Templars gained access to ancient wisdom and powers that made them invulnerable in battle and ensured their success in all endeavors. It was as if these artifacts they held the secrets of the universe, opening doors to uncharted realms of knowledge. Another interesting legend tells us that the Templars possessed secret knowledge from ancient civilizations such as the Egyptians and Sumerians. This knowledge allowed them to create powerful magical items and rituals that ensured their success in battle and protection from their enemies. Perhaps it was because of this knowledge that the Templars could predict the outcome of battles, heal the wounded, and even control the elements. One of the interesting sides of the history of the Templars is their alleged enmity with the Order of Assassins. Yes, the relationship between the Templars and the Assassins is one of the most fascinating pages in the history of the Middle Ages. Imagine, on the one hand, the Crusader Knights, known for their valor and discipline, and on the other, mysterious Muslim fanatics, masters of hidden destruction and political intrigue. Seemingly perfect antagonists. Some historians suggest that the Templars and Assassins fought fiercely against each other. Indeed, they had opposing goals and interests, The Templars sought to protect the Holy Land and Christian territories, while the assassins fought to establish an independent Islamic state in the region. According to legends, both organizations used all sorts of means to destroy each other. The Templars could send spies into assassin camps in an attempt to learn their plans and prevent attacks. The assassins, in turn, could try to infiltrate their agents into the Templar ranks to sabotage their operations from within. Any conflicts between Templars and assassins were localized clashes rather than full-scale wars. There may have been some skirmishes on the borders of territories controlled by both sides, but hardly a full-blown war. The Templar Order left a deep mark in the history of mankind. Despite the fact that it existed for less than 2 centuries, its influence on the politics, economy, and culture of Europe. Today, the memory of the Templars lives on in numerous books, movies, and games, and their symbols continue to inspire people around the world.